take a look at any real estate app today, and you will notice that often the cost to rent is less expensive per month than the cost of a mortgage. And yet, every month, thousands of people are still buying houses. Even in California. I myself have noticed a lot of reasons people still buy even when renting is less expensive, but I wanted to bring my real estate broker that I work under onto this video and my sister, who is an agent in Seattle, to give some more perspectives on the topic. This video is not meant to sway you either way, buying versus renting, but rather I find it so interesting to see the reasons that people choose to buy despite the interest rates and prices making it cheaper to rent. While many people view a home as an investment, for others it's more consumption, and there are plenty of reasons people still buy that aren't really finance related but are still totally valid. If you do happen to be looking to buy, whether that's in LA, Orange County, or Palm Springs, I am a licensed real estate agent out here, and I'm working on a team that has about 15 years of experience. I'll have my email on the screen and down below. Shoot me an email if you're interested in buying and want to set up a call to learn more. Just throwing that out there if you are interested. Now let's get into the reasons that people are still buying. The first one is the tax benefits of owning real estate. When you own property, not only do you have more deductions, saving you money on taxes each year that you own, but you also get a huge benefit when you sell your primary residence. These tax benefits do make buying make a little more sense, and it helps people justify their decision to buy rather than rent. With buying, I feel like there's really three main benefits. There's the SALT deduction. This allows you to deduct state and local taxes, including state income tax and property tax.
The new tax bill has raised the SALT deduction. Before, you could only deduct $10,000, and now you can deduct up to $40,000.
So if you're deducting the full $40,000, this is how much it will save you in each tax bracket. It's a significant amount.
Let's say you're paying around 10 or 15K of state taxes, you wouldn't be able to deduct any of your property taxes before, yeah. But now at least you could deduct, another 25K or whatever. You
can also deduct the mortgage interest.
The interest deduction, which is up to $750,000, especially with the interest rates being pretty high. It's not unusual for someone to pay $30,000, $40,000 in mortgage interest in a year. That's a huge write-off.
And then obviously the last is the capital gains deduction for your primary residence when you sell.
That one I feel like is the best.
So this tax exclusion is up to $250,000 for an individual and $500,000 for a married couple. So let's say you sell your house and get a $250,000 profit. As a single person, you wouldn't have to pay federal taxes on that.
If you sell a stock and you make a profit, there's no real scenario where you're just not paying any taxes on it.
So I think those are like the three main benefits for if you own the home and you live in it as a primary residence.
The next reason some people buy is they just can't really find exactly what they want for rent.
When looking at 1 or 2 bedroom apartments, they're a dime a dozen. You can always find one to rent. But in somewhere like Los Angeles, if you want, say, a 3-bedroom townhouse with a garage, there are hardly any of those available for rent.
The more specific you are about what you want, and especially if you're wanting to live in a house rather than an apartment, the rental options can start to feel more limited.
If you want a mid-century or character home that has some updates, it can be hard to find that on the rental market. When it comes to renting a house or a townhouse in Los Angeles, the options are just much more limited. And oftentimes when I'm looking, there's a lot more townhouses available for sale, for example, than for rent.
My sister helps a lot of people relocating to Seattle, and she noticed that one reason people buy, despite not really knowing the city very well yet, is simply the fact that they've purchased before and they feel weird going back to renting.
It just feels weird. I don't know how else to put it, but it's just weird being like, oh, I don't own this. So people don't want to have to deal with a landlord for, painting a wall or putting a hole in a wall.
It is a funny thing and so true that once people buy, they often don't go back to renting. Some people do, but most don't.
And I think there is something psychological about once you've bought before, you just don't want to go back to renting for so many reasons.
I see it in the comments, people being like, I would never go back to renting. Yeah. I don't want to have neighbors. I like my house. It is psychological. It almost feels like you're taking a step backwards in your life because of that American dream being ingrained, even if it financially is better.
So many people that buy are very motivated by simply wanting to have a yard, and a yard is an investment. I've spent $15,000 on my yard, right? And I'm so happy with it, but you're never gonna do that at a rental.
You can always find houses for rent that have a backyard, but a lot of times they look like the before of this backyard. There's just not a lot of incentive for landlords to make the backyard anything special. It is kind of rare to find a rental with a backyard like this. I mean, it's possible, it's just not very common. And it just wouldn't really make sense to put the money into planting hydrangeas, adding the pea gravel, a hot tub even,
if you're renting, because you can't really take those plants with you. You could try, but they would probably die. Versus if you own the place, it actually feels like an investment into your property, like you're making it nicer, and you can more so justify those customizations.
Being able to customize and renovate your house is a huge reason people buy. There are plenty of modern apartments and flipped houses, but they're pretty cookie cutter. People who want to renovate a space and really make it their own are more likely to end up buying.
A lot of people eventually want to have their dream home. You just are not often going to find rentals that look like this, for example. This is the reason people buy, is they have the money, they're not as concerned anymore about getting the max return on investment as they are with just living the lifestyle that they want to live. Sometimes actually this can be a good financial choice. If you find a fixer-upper, you can add value to the house and get it exactly how you want it by customizing it. But other times it's really not, and people just want to spend their money making their home the way that they want it because they have the money to do so, and that's a valid reason too. It's not necessarily always all about the financial aspect. For a lot of people, they just have the money and this is how they want to spend it. I feel like on YouTube, we do tend to see people more trying to get the best return on investment, but in reality, a lot of people just want to make their home the way that they want to make it, and that is completely fine. You're allowed to spend your money how you want to.
When you're younger, it definitely makes the most sense to optimize for getting the best financial return, but I think we sometimes forget that there are people, I have a lot of viewers actually, who are in their 50s and 60s, and at this point, they actually just want to use their money to buy the lifestyle that they want, even if it's not going to get them the best return. Customizing is probably number one reason for me. I loved customizing the Palm Springs house. It just feels like home to me, and I would love to customize a primary residence for myself one day. Another huge reason people buy, even if renting is a little bit cheaper, is for the stability. You're able to lock in more fixed expenses. You don't have to deal with the unknowns of having your rent potentially raised each year.
Whatever the interest rate is now, if you choose a fixed rate for like 15 or 30 years, that's the max your monthly payment ever will be. And then obviously if the rates come down, you can refinance and get that payment lower. But eventually the rents will keep rising every year, and eventually the rent will catch up with the monthly payment and become more than the monthly payment of your mortgage.
The interesting thing I think a lot of people have realized is that you could even potentially make more keeping your money in the stock market to make up for that rent difference. But there's this psychological thing where for people it is so painful to see the rent go up, even more than the fact that they're getting the stock market gains, that they still want to buy, even though it might make more sense to rent on paper.
And this is due to the human tendency of loss aversion. Say you get a $100 parking ticket, we tend to feel the pain of that much more intensely than the pleasure of if you found $100 randomly on the ground.
Loss aversion is so powerful, it's a human tendency. This is why people would so much rather not see their rent increase than they would rather see their stock market gains increase. It just psychologically feels better. It's a sense of stability, knowing your living expenses are more fixed. It's definitely a reason that people are still buying despite it being cheaper to rent.
But if you're not actually going to reinvest that money, it can be better to buy. Many people don't actually have the financial discipline to reinvest the money. If they have it, they're going to spend it, in which case it is better to buy because then you at least are committing and forcing yourself to saving. Another reason related to stability is if you're starting a family. Fixed living expenses aren't the only benefit, it's also the peace of mind that you won't get kicked out of your home.
You never know when your landlord wants to move back into the unit or sell it or do something else with the unit, and besides for just raising rent, you might get kicked out and not have a place to live, and it's like kind of stressful knowing that that could happen kind of at any time.
Especially with a house, I can tell you guys, I've rented a house before, and a year into it, the guy wanted to sell it. He didn't end up selling it that year, he sold it the following year, but it was stressful for all of us because we were like, where are we gonna go, you know? It's more likely with a house that the people might move back in or wanna sell it. With a big apartment building, like they're never gonna do that, but if you are wanting to live in a house and you wanna stay there for like 10, 20 years, if you're renting it, they could actually kick you out even if you're paying.
Yeah, exactly. Apartment building is probably safer, but if it's an individual condo unit that's owned by one person, they could also want to move back or sell it at any point, which happens all the time.
I mean, this is stressful for anyone, but especially for families because usually they're trying to stay in a school district. They don't want to have to risk moving every few years on the whim of a landlord. And so for the stability, buying makes sense.
Owning gives you that peace of mind that you don't get with renting,
that no one's gonna kick you out because they wanna sell or move back in. Another reason people buy but don't often talk about a lot is if they're being gifted the down payment.
Believe it or not, this is quite common today. I've seen this anecdotally, and there's also stats online about it. 40% of homebuyers under 30, with the way prices and interest rates are, it's not a huge surprise that the younger first-time homebuyers, a lot of them are getting assistance with the down payment. And if you are getting gifted the down payment, it does kind of become a no-brainer financially. A lot of times, parents aren't going to give a lump sum of money to put in the stock market, so there is no opportunity cost alternative. Obviously, this is not an option for everyone, but for the people that are lucky to have this opportunity, of course they're gonna take it. I mean, it's a no-brainer at that point, and it does start to make more sense financially. Like, admit it. You'd probably take the money too. And so if you're looking around going, how is anyone buying? It doesn't make sense to buy that. From the outside looking in, we don't know all the factors involved. When something like this is the case, it actually does make a lot more sense.
And the last reason I think a lot of people aren't even consciously aware of, and that is to achieve the American dream. This is more of a subconscious reason that a lot of people still want to buy, and it's really hard to shake the American dream. It's ingrained in all of us from a young age, and I think a lot of people just still want to check that box and hit that milestone, even if it doesn't make as much sense financially anymore. Owning a house, in a way, is a status symbol, and you can kind of humbly brag about it, saying that you own your place, whereas you can't say at a dinner party how much money is in your brokerage account. It's a subtle way for people to know that you're successful. Whether people realize it or not, I think this is one of those subconscious reasons people want to buy. Even knowing all of this, even I still want to buy. Not right now, but at some point, because of all of these reasons. Pretty much all of them combined. But mostly the customization reason. I just like picking the finishes and really making a place feel like my own. I've also noticed a new kind of subgroup of this who want to keep the American dream alive. They want to buy a house so that BlackRock doesn't buy all the houses. And I do agree with this. I prefer and support individual homeowners owning their homes instead of just one corporation. I also don't want to live in a society where we own nothing and are happy. So those are some of the reasons I've noticed that people continue to buy. Despite these interest rates making it pretty tough, there are still thousands of people that are buying. If you recently bought a house, I would love to hear your reasoning behind it. Comment down below. It doesn't have to be a financial reason. I think it's still totally valid if you just want to buy a house because you love that house and you want to make sure that you have it forever. And if you are looking in California or Seattle, I'll have my info down below. You can book a call with me to learn more about the home buying process, or with Monica if you're in Seattle. Monica has sold over 70 houses in the Seattle area, so if you're looking for a great realtor in Seattle, I can definitely vouch for her, so I will put an email for her down below as well. And if you are looking in a different market, check out howtohouse.com. This is where Monica and I vet realtors all over the country. It's totally free to use, and it'll help you find a good realtor if you don't know who to work with in your area. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!